So what would it be like if Jonathan was alive and well but had acquired a stand? My name's Kaleb and this is something that made me think for a very long time now. Now, this whole entire concept was pretty odd to think of. First of all, how would you bring back Jonathan? Second, how would you bring back Jonathan if Dio was still around in his body? Third, what is this? So let's give this some type of scenario. Stand user, preferably somehow connected to Dio. Broken stand, brings back iterations of JoJo's just to wipe out the whole line. And let's say they bring back Jonathan and George, whatever. Alright, cool. Now, let's say Jonathan's all normal. It's part 6, let's go with that. JoJo's are together, Giorno is there, father-son bonding. Stabs him with the stand arrow, then boom, stand. This whole thing sounds pretty far-fetched, but this is just theorizing with a plot that seems pretty close to Eyes of Heaven. Now that Jonathan was stabbed with the arrow, what was his stand be? For this, I created 2 possible outcomes. One based off of what's possibly canon, and the other based on what exactly stands are defined to be about. For the first one, this is based off of what we saw in the beginning of part 3. After Dio had activated his stand, the world. So here's the thing, there's Jonathan Joestar, which is the father of Jorge Joestar, and this George Joestar, the whole thing gets the passion and all, because the other, I can't elaborate on it because there's more, the other Jonathan is different, Joji, and he still stopped his brother Dio and all. That's huge thing. Aside from that, I want you guys to put in the comments about what power do you think that Jonathan's stand should have, since I didn't get to say that in the end or in the future of this video, because right now time is stopped. So yeah, just keep that in your head when you're typing it out and after the video's over. Time will resume. He developed his semi-precognitive abilities that let him have a psychic connection with the line of the other Joestars. It could produce psychic photography by striking but not destroying a camera, which is basically better Hermit Purple. Though in the JoJo novel Jorge Joestar, the stand's name was The Passion. Now when putting that into perspective, that would actually be pretty confusing if Jonathan was hit with the stand arrow. Well, the theories that we're going with is that Jonathan came back with his own body. Jonathan's body has its own stand, but that's when it was connected to Dio, which made it into 2 stands because it made the world and then the passion at the same time. So Dio still has Jonathan's original body, and well, he's dead, so that's no stand anymore. But now Jonathan here, brought back from the dead with no previous stand, because he's completely all new and stuff, because this is Jonathan's self-consciousness and all. Now, when thinking about this, I was reading through the comments, and I saw a comment from the Lewis Lion, what if the effects and the similarities to Hermit Purple was just actually an extension of Jonathan's stand, like how Sheer Heart Attack is an extension of Killer Queen? What would be the actual power of Jonathan's stand? With what we're basing off of and what we've already seen, this has something to do with connecting it to the line of other Joestars. Now I know what you're thinking, hopefully. Are there powers where it involves a family line in specifics? Well, I found what fits best, honestly. Ancestral and Descendant Evocation. Along with that, add on what would be Ancestral Merging, but also add Merging with the Descendants also. Let me elaborate on that. User can call on the minds of the others living, dead, or in another world, communicating with a past life, a deceased ancestor, or to receive help from a living friend. Adding on with that, with Descendants, then you have an easy connection to all the Joestars in history. Now, what I meant by merging, I meant Ancestral Merging. The user can gain the powers of their ancestors by evoking and merging with them, gaining all of their powers. Now, add in Descendants also. By doing so, you have the #1 Joestar by being all of the Joestars. I can understand that sounds pretty complicated, so let me use an example. Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you've seen this show, I'm guessing you can know where I'm going with this. Well, in Book 2, Episode 5, Aang was able to use Ancestral Merging to connect to and become Avatar Kyoshi to explain the history of the Kyoshi Island. You gain the skills, memories, and powers of all ancestors and descendants. Imagine Jonathan being able to connect to both Zeppelis, not at the same time though. This is a one-at-a-time ability. And by connecting to both Zeppelis with Ancestral Merging, you're also able to connect to friends and others besides your family. This is a one-at-a-time ability. Now say that since you gain the quote-unquote powers, you are able to copy the stand abilities. So say that Jonathan needs to repair someone, he calls on Josuke. If he wants to stop time, he calls on Jotaro. If he wants a person that's going to attack him and meet an endless, inescapable fate, he calls on Giorno. And I don't think it would be a stretch either if Jonathan would be able to connect with Dio's illegitimate children, since they are technically his. This stand would still be called the Passion because it's relating to the original stand from Jonathan and that what we saw from part 3. Now for stand number 2, Helios Overture. Let me read to you the description of stands. Stands are defined as personifications of life energy whose abilities are given in visual form. When first presented with the kanji, it meant ghostly ripple, ripple equaling Hamon. A stand can also represent the manifestation of an individual's innate fighting spirit, as it represents, to an extent, the individual's psyche. Now for Jonathan can feel righteous fury at the evilness of his foes, and will conduct justice by vanquishing them. Jonathan also possesses a fierce inner strength and a drive that's able to overcome conflict, which Dio would call explosive power. He has massive passion and heart for defeating evil and preserving justice. Jonathan's willpower is one of the strongest things in the show by itself. With his willpower, he defeats Dio alone with getting all of his bones in his arms broken and defeats Tarkus. That was with Hamon and life energy from Zeppeli, but by that time Jonathan was living for 3 people more when it progresses on into the show. So off of that, I developed a stand that would apply to everything I said. Since stands are your fighting spirit or your psyche, and Jonathan's spirit is filled to the brink with justice and will, I thought that the stand that would fit the best be either Helios Overture or The Passion still. By The Passion, I'm adding on another meaning to it. I wanted to add the background reference to J.S. Bach, Passions. It's one of the works of Bach that survived since he's died. A work that lived through time, which to me that's what Jonathan would be at this point even if he wasn't revived. For Helios Overture, it's a name that relates to the power and will of the stand of Jonathan. I wanted a power that would relate to what Jonathan already had and resembled his burning will. Solar Manipulation. The power to manipulate aspects of the sun. I've limited to these abilities and I've added the ones that could relate or benefit his Hamon ability. Heliokinetic Combat. Infusing solar energy into the fist of the stand and punching with that. Solar Empowerment. Gaining solar power anytime he's present in the sunlight to increase his attacks and Hamon. Solar Healing, which is basically enhanced Hamon healing. Solar Vision, the ability to see anything in sunlight in a 20 feet radius. Solar Portation, traveling with the sun's energy like the flying stand ability used in the fight with Jotaro and Dio. Ultraviolet Manipulation, that goes without saying. Solar Attacks, he needs the sunlight for this one. He can create blasts, bullets, beams, and construct a few things out of solar energy, meaning solar pillars, solar spikes, fire this, fire that, fire walls, all of that. Now, I can't draw either stand what they would look like because I can't draw. If you can, if you know someone that can, I'm pretty sure that like a lot of people would like to see that, and if I like to see that myself, if anything. I also picture these things on like the shoulders of Helios Overture and possibly a belt thing like Killer Queen's, but that's just me. Tweet me what you guys can do. I would really like to see the outcome of that. That'd be really nice. So I know some people would think that some of these stands would be broken, so I'm gonna give them limitations. For stand 1, The Passion, when picking up abilities of the person in specific, he also picks up their weaknesses too. Meaning that if he does pick up Josuke, he cannot heal himself like Josuke. Although he can still do Hamon accessible things, like if he shatters his left arm, I'm pretty sure he can just heal it with his right, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to be able to do that in a fight, so he's going to do that like after. Aside from that, he can only change the person he's calling in like 10-minute intervals, so he can't just switch back and forth like it's nothing. For stand 2, well, it's like a Sun Start Platinum. It's vulnerable to like, well shit. He can get outplayed on his own terms. Not really sure what he can lose to exactly. Probably time-based stuff that isn't Dio, because what are knives to the power of the sun? I don't really know. Whatever catches him off guard can probably blow him away. Let's just say that. I'm pretty sure if like Vanilla Ice came through and he didn't exactly know how Vanilla Ice worked, he'd probably get blown away by that. But knowing Jonathan, he's gonna figure certain things out by himself. Now, that's all for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this little theorizing video. I'm going to be doing more of these along with the outside of series because I have many ideas while I'm working, and I'm going to be acting on them while I get something out to you guys. And this was this is one of the more thinking videos for me. I said that. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please hit like and subscribe. I really enjoy the support from you guys. It's amazing. I feel great about it. You can also check up on the other outside of videos. There's the outside of Dio, outside of Jonathan, Ganondorf, Luigi, Mario. And that's about all. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out and Godspeed.